T. Clark here, and this video is on the AP Computer Science A 2022 FRQ number 4A. So in 4, we have the two-dimensional arrays. So for A, we're going to do what? So we have a collection of randomly generated data. So we have the data class shown below. So we're going to write the two methods as discussed in the directions. So it looks like we have a max value, which is not shown, and we have a grid of 2D array of grid, a matrix of grids. So grid will not be null, and it'll be randomly generated as part of A. So in part A, we're going to repopulate. So let's see what we have to do. So that's it. So part A says, write the repopulate method, which assigns a newly generated random value to each element of grid. So each value is computed to meet all the following criteria, and all valid values must have an equal chance of being generated, equal chance. Okay, so I have the value between 1 and max, inclusive. I have the value has to be divisible by 10. The value is not divisible by 100. Okay. So when I first approached this, I started with my normal loops over a matrix, right? For int r equals 0, int c equals 0, all that stuff. And then I was going to make a while loop that looped through everything and would only get out of that loop if if the data matched these three. Oh, what the heck is going on? Hit something. These three criteria. But I think it would be more straightforward if I made a list of data first. So I'm going to make an array list of my valid numbers, integer values. And I'm making a list because I'm adding this data dynamically. And I'm going to loop through based on this. So numbers between 1 and max inclusive. So I'm going to make that loop first. So I'm going to say for int I equals 1, what the heck, semicolon, I less than equal to max or inclusive to max, and then I plus plus. And then we're going to say if that value, if that I is divisible by 10, again, I have to move my mouse, I keep forgetting, and divisible by 10, and it's not divisible by 100. So remember, divisible is if you do percent that number equals 0. So percent 10 mod 10 equals 0, that means it is divisible by 10. And if it's not equal to 0, it means it's not divisible by, in this case, 100. Okay, so then if I have that data, I'm going to say, okay, vals, add that integer. And this will auto-box the data, so you don't have to worry about boxing it up or anything. It'll just auto-box. Java does that for us. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Then I'm going to do that loop that I was thinking about. So for int r equals 0, r less than grid length, r plus plus. So just a normal 2D matrix list for int c equals 0, c less than grid 0, dot length, not o0, and c plus plus. And then, okay, so I'm looping through all the elements in my 2D array. So RRR, CCC, and the columns go with grid 0. And I'm going to add that value. First, I'm going to add a random value from this list. So I have a list of possible values. I'm just going to say, okay, get a random number. So it has to be an int. So whenever I do a random number, I have to cast it to an int because it's going to be an index. So math.random. And what do I need to do? I need to spread it out based on this array in my case. So times, not plus, vals.size. So if I look, that's how you get a random number from a list or even an array. Well, if I keep my semicolon right spot. So random number from the list. So right now I have a random index. Let's say random index. Let's put it full out. Okay, so there's my random index. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my grid value. So grid RC, remember R comes first, equals the value, the element at that random index. And then if I run it, it should run. Hopefully I didn't make any typos. And then in this case, I just set up my maximum to be 1001. So all these numbers up here in my grid with my helper methods, which aren't actually given to you, all these numbers will be from, I guess, 10 to 1001. Let's try just saying 101. See what happens there. So now all the numbers are from 0 to 100, but not divisible by 100. Okay, so that looks good. That looks good. So it looks like that should be it for part 4A.